Hello, here we are doing a board deck and dice review of Star Trek Conflick in the neutral zone. Conflick, of course, is a wordplay on the popular word conflict. I just want to show you that you do get two sets of stickers, or I did in mine, but you're only meant to stick them on one side for reasons. I guess if they peel, they might stick on the board. This is a 2 to 4 player game, although I'd probably say it's a 2-player game. The board is split into 2 halves, and in the middle there are some planets. If you're playing at different player counts, the board is double-sided with more planets on. And each of these planets are interesting because they can be mined from. If you land a circular ship on one of these, you're either going to get, at some point in the game, a crystal, which are used to buy more ships, or a victory point or a command point or whatever they call it. Anyway, you need 10 of those to win. The other types of ships are kind of hexagon shaped, and they are attacking ships. Attacking ships cannot collect resources, but they can knock people off planets, killing them, or knock them off the board, killing them. Each team will have 4 starter ships in there, so the Federation and the Klingon ships basically, and these have basic bog standard, but they tell you what they are. And during the game you can buy extra ships. You're not limited to buying ships of your colour because it's like you've just commandeered them, and these ships will have cool powers. Like this is an attacking ship because it's a hexagon. When this ship is destroyed by an opponent, gain 3 crystals. The only thing is they can be quite hard to find, so I've got to find the USS Prometheus. So I know it's a hexagon, but where is it? I think it's going to be a big one. Excelsior. They all look a bit dark is what I'm saying. Where are you, Prometheus? Is that you? Yes, there it is. It does have a matching picture, but as you can see, they're all a bit of a bitness. The turn order is broken down into an amazing 8 steps. Reassign. This means any ships that you have out on the other half of the board, because you play from one half, you can actually pick up and put back in your shipyard ready to deploy later. So once they've crossed the middle line, you can no longer do anything with them unless they come back across. So reassign just means taking them off the board and putting them back into your side of your tableau. Collect. This is when you collect crystals. You get 1 anyway, and you get 1 for each circular ship on a planet, on one of the 2 yellow planets, and you get 1 point for circular ships on the big purple planet. You may then purchase and add the ship to your display and draw to refresh it. Deploy and move. When you deploy, you take the ruler, and you must deploy within the ruler's edge of your half of the board, and then you flick all the ones that are already on the board. Then you can move or place an asteroid. Asteroids must be placed a width away from existing things. This just gives you a bit of protection. And then you rebuild. So any ships that have been destroyed, pushed off planets or off the board are put into what's known as a shipyard, and then you rebuild. Some of the other powers you can get on ships, including one of my favourites on the Dauntless, you may put a finger on this ship during an opponent's turn so that they can't flick it off. Before moving the ship, you may reposition it up to 1 disc length from its current position. Ships destroyed by the ship are not removed from the shipyard their next turn, so they stay out of the game longer. That is a quick overview of Star Trek Conflick in the neutral zone. So Star Trek Conflick in the neutral zone is an okay dexterity game. It does some interesting things like being able to purchase ships, and they have some really interesting powers, and only be able to flick from your side of the board and the resource gathering. Now, there is a little bit of confusion when you're buying ships of both colours. It would have been easier if one person was one colour and the other person the other colour. I appreciate why they've done that, and it wasn't too much of a problem because of the nature of only flicking from one half, but the pictures on the stickers are quite dark and the ships are quite similar, so it can be difficult to tell them apart. Apart from that, it does flicking stuff really well. The flicking mechanics work. The only other complaint I have is the 8-step round. It's just too many steps and phases and complicates too much a game of this weight. It would be much better condensing those down, making things a little bit less complicated, and generally ironing those things out. So what we have is a competent flicking game that could have been so much more. It could have been a lot more fun. There could have been more graphic design gone into it and changing the way the ships look so you can pick them out at a glance, rather than kind of a good flicking game in the middle with kind of upkeep all around it. And ultimately, if I was going to play a dexterity game that involved flicking, if I wanted something that had a bit more to it, it would be flip ships. And if I wanted something to have a bit less, there are plenty other games where you are flicking things around. Pitch Car, for example, Catacombs, Castles and Catacombs, one of those, for example. So it's hard to know where this one fits. If you can get it cheap enough and you're happy just to have a silly time with it, then I think you'll be happy. But for me, as someone who has quite a few dexterity games already, it doesn't quite hit the mark that is needed. So, intimidation factor. Well, there is some intimidation in terms of ease of access, ease of use, and rules that are more complicated than they need to be in terms of steps you have to go through. Not necessarily in terms of how they explain it, the rules are okay, but like I say, it all comes back to that 8-step round that you have to go through each turn. So yeah, that's the same with the rules really. Fun, there's fun to be had. You can still pull off some great shots. The fact that you need to get resources and you can just go and base yourself on a planet that gives you points the whole game and just try and farm points that way. Or so do you concentrate on knocking that ship off of your opponent, or do you go somewhere else and focus on something else? There are decisions to be made there that are quite interesting. Would I keep it in my collection? Well, I've already indicated that for me it is not a strong enough dexterity game to remain in my collection, though I would happily play it again, and with the warning about the over complexity in the round structure, I would recommend it to people who wanted a light dexterity game set in a Star Trek universe and they weren't too bothered about sticking to the rules totally. They were happy to kind of mitigate some of them. Thanks very much for watching another review. Do like and subscribe to our channels and all our other Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, social media accounts for more content. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you next time.